This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Ah, yes, there he is. If I can make him reappear without that damn billboard in front. Cameron Wolfe and our KSDT CPA Miami Dolphins and NFL report. How you feeling, my man?
I'm good, man. I am good. Just hanging out here with the little baby girl, and that's about it, man. I'm gonna get some errands done. Maybe check out some F1. That's about it.
Looks like everybody's checking out F1 this week. And are you going at any point as a media member or as a fan?
Oh, just as a fan, man. I'm gonna go. I'll definitely have tickets for Sunday, so I'm gonna go check that out Sunday, and then I may go either today or Saturday. Probably more likely Saturday, but no. Since I work for NFL Network now, we don't do a ton of true all sport coverage.
Right. Of course.
So we don't. There's not as more of a work capacity there, but I did a little bit of attention on it yesterday on our network show because the Dolphins did a few things with F1 and Tua and Gesicki and Mike McDaniel were all out at the track, did a little fast lap in the F1 cars. So I think all of it's fun. I'm a F1 convert, man. I watched the Netflix Drive to Survive series, like a lot of us Americans, and that got me hooked. So this will be the first time I'm seeing it up close, and I'm excited about it.
I got to ask, you bought those tickets?
I know some people.
Okay. All right.
I know some
All
people.
right.
Yeah.
All right. Those are some expensive tickets, dude. So, that's why I ask. I'm going, are you going to go press or are you going to go, and so obviously you're going as a fan. I wouldn't want to go press, unless I had to work it or something, which thank the Lord I don't have to work any of that stuff. But it would take the fun away from, I'd rather go as a fan for something like that and experience it. It's going to be fun. I'll watch it on television, but it should be one hell of an event. And I talked about this earlier in the week. I don't know if I talked about it with you because this might have happened after, but I think McDaniel is giving himself a chance to ask his players to do whatever he needs them to do because he has built a relationship with them and he has connected with them at different levels that isn't the playing field. And I think that's going to ultimately, he's got to prove that he can win and all that other stuff, and players will completely buy in. But I think the relationship building thing has been something strong to see coming from McDaniel.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, man. Like I said, just kind of seeing him, like there's small things. Like we talked about it throughout the offseason, him being at the luau for Tua, different elements of him just kind of being overwhelmingly positive early, and it doesn't feel fake. Just kind of from the jump, them committing to him. And now the F1 stuff, like how many coaches are you going to see that's like, taking pictures with sunglasses with their starting quarterback, hanging right about to hop in an F1 car? That's just something that doesn't happen. And, I know people will be critical and say, hey, is he being too friendly, I mean, we're going to see when the games start. But to me, I want there to feel like there's an organic relationship between, my head coach and my player. So especially my quarterback. So for me, I think that's a win. I think that,
I think it goes with today's players nowadays.
It does.
It does. I think today's players, I don't think they react to the tough love nearly as much as they used to be quite honest.
No, you're 100%. I mean, look at what happened at the end of Brian Flores' tenure, like just being real.
Right.
I mean, there's a reality that there are certain types of coaches.
Adam Gase, by the way, had the same issues. It's not a Flow thing. It's a Gase thing, too. Gase didn't know how to communicate with human beings. Because remember, the Flow thing is not just players. Flo had a problem with people in the freaking building, the other people that were either his coworkers or executives above him. He had a problem in communicating with human beings, and Gase did too. And that's been what's it called? A theme and an issue for the last two coaches with the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, I believe it's how people portray different styles of conversation, right? because like Brian Flores had a very, straightforward, sometimes confrontational way to approach people. And for him and for people who like live in his circle, that's normal. For like you said, in this new era of players, there may be some players, not all players, but there be maybe some players who just do not vibe well with that. So there are going to be a lot of players who vibe a lot better with Mike McDaniel just
Oh, the
because he's a
world has
lot.
changed. The
Exactly,
world has changed,
exactly.
bro. The
There,
people
there,
have changed.
there's
Do you know what
there's
happened to
news.
Bill Murray recently? Do you know what happened to him in a movie set the other
No,
recently? Did you hear about
no,
it?
no.
Movie got canceled and everything. Now they got to find a new lead actor. Bill Murray did something and he apologized for it. Now we don't
Hmm.
know exactly what it was. One of those I apologize, but we don't know exactly what he apologized because he goes, "Well, I said something that, back in the day wouldn't have been considered anything, but in today's world it's." But he didn't really say exactly what he said to the coworker on the movie set. But it
Right,
must have been so bad that they fired his ass.
right.
And he's the lead actor in the damn movie. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's because today's world, there are things you cannot say that you could say 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, all that kind of stuff. I mean, what was it? It was it was Lindsay Lohan. She's 17 years old.
Right.
She's on Ripa, Kelly Ripa, and the other guy. I don't know back then, whatever. I forgot who it was, or whatever. And Kelly goes to her. Well, what about these? And they were. I was seeing this show about things you can't say nowadays, and this is just 15 years ago, I think it was, or something like that. And they were asking her about her breasts, if they were real or
Hmm.
if they were enhanced.
Right.
Think about that now. She's
Yeah,
17.
yeah. That's wild.
Like,
That's wild.
okay, so like in today's world, if you would ask a girl in the middle of a TV show, are your breasts real or are they enhanced or this, that, and Lindsay was like taking it in stride. She goes, my God, I'm not even fully developed yet and all that kind of stuff. And she was laughing it off. But think about the reaction
Oh,
nowadays. You'll get
oh
fired.
man.
You'll
Oh,
get fired
absolutely,
for something like that. You
absolutely,
know what I
and
mean?
and on stuff on
Different
that,
world,
man.
man.
Like
Different world.
of stuff like that, I think is positive, man. Like especially involving women. I think there's a lot of times we put women, and I'm speaking we as in men as a whole, put women in uncomfortable positions, and you kind of think it's funny, you think it's kind of the guy's way of doing things, but I think that's a positive in this new culture that like you shouldn't be able to like ask a woman, especially a young woman if her breasts are fake or real and feel like that's okay. Like that's just to me
On
that's
national
common
television,
sense.
dude. I
Exactly.
mean,
Exactly. So
that is
that to
that's
me is that's a positive change. People should be getting fired and canceled for that sort of thing.
okay. So how about this? Did you hear about the Bears scout that just got fired?
Yes, I did. Very much so.
Okay, so for those of you that don't know, Bear scout talking about Penn State safety Jaquan Brisker in the second round of the
Right.
draft.
Right.
Team scout Chris Prescott made disparaging comments revolving around the Nittany Lions' personal life.
Hmm.
When describing Prescott, he said he's poor, hungry, and desperate. So now he says he's what we would call a PhD, poor, hungry, and desperate. Football is in his life. This is this kid's life. There's a lot to like about that when you see a guy who's so passionate about football. And then, many people went on and like Mina Kimes and all that and went on and, hey, you're breaking down, what happens in his life to like a 40 time and a stat and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of know what the guy means.
Hmm.
In a way, he really is not making fun of it. He's actually saying that this is a kid that he needs football in his life to get out of where he's from. Like a lot of people use athletics, music, acting, whatever it is to get out of whatever situation they're in. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So it's just, and this is the world we live in that 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago, those comments would be like nothing. We would laugh about them. We would talk about them and we would kind of elaborate more about it. Now you get shunned and now you get fired for it.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was very interesting. Like Mina, I used to work for ESPN, so Mina was one of my favorite former colleagues to work with. Really good person. I think what you say is a really good point because like I've had a lot of conversations with scouts and coaches and front office people who talk in that language. So like I want to be very careful in saying like the Bear scout is not alone in that. His mistake, what he's alone in is saying it publicly. Like there are a lot of people who are probably smarter than say it publicly. So, it's sort of the old boys club of the NFL that you're, for better or for worse, there's a language that's used towards women, towards people of color, and it's just kind of the way, people who are in the lower income areas, it's just sort of terminology that's used just sort of without even thinking. Like I don't even know if the guy, like I could tell based on the rest of his conversation that he is trying to be positive and he thinks that it's positive, which is part of the issue. Like in his mindset, he's like, oh, I'm going to tell them why this dude is going to be awesome. And it's like, it's a complete disconnect from the mindset and the language versus how we view society. And so like, I think that, especially him coming as a white male, speaking about a black dude, I think there has to be a cognizance of you're speaking about a group of people who already have a stereotype they're trying to overcome. Right.
Yeah,
and so
no.
I think that's why more than anything, he deserves that backlash because, you're even if your intentions, like I don't think his intentions were, hey,
Right.
I'm gonna like bury
Right.
this dude. Like so
Right.
I can look at it and say, like, hey, I don't think this dude was just like, I'm about to go publicly and talk about how rich and poor. And no, I think he's thinking like, oh, this dude came from nothing and all he had was football. But still, you have to be
But
you
listen,
have to have a reality.
Let's be honest, because you and I have talked to the same kind of people for many, many years.
Yep.
Now, if the kid was rich and spoiled, they'd say the same thing about him, but in the reverse, actually.
Right.
Because I've heard the same thing. Oh, no, this is a pampered pea, and this guy is soft, and that. This is a mama's boy. This is a guy, his parents gave him everything, this, that. Josh Rosen had some of that stuff, actually.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
And that's, so some of that kind of stuff. So don't think that it's only in one area. It's it's what you were saying. He wasn't trying to pick at the human being. He was just trying to say what his motivations are. What he did was just being stupid, talking about it this way in public is where he was stupid. But the same kind of rip job would go for the rich, spoiled kid too at the same time.
That's very true.
And,
that's very true. But the one thing I would say about him, and I think this is where, like I mentioned before, that where he gets himself truly in trouble, is I'm not sure if I've heard that same language as consistently when you're talking about the poor white dudes. And so that's where I think that there's a big disconnect. You come in and you see most of the athletes in the NFL are black. So you kind of put them in a box. You say, hey, these dudes they came from lower class, they came from the hood, and we're going to loop them in. And I think that he obviously has this mindset, and as a black dude, that comes across as very offensive. And so I see that, even though I've heard this same language. But you're right. And I'll a brief aside here. One of the most frustrating things that I hear scouts talk about on a scouting report, and I've actually seen scouting reports with it written as a positive, comes from a middle class 2-parent household as a positive, as a positive on the scouting report. The fact that and it's something like as simple as that kind of gives you a foundation.
What they think.
They think, he's got a support system. His parents are there. They came and so that, I believe it or not, that is on a lot of scouting reports, and I have a lot of scouts that I respect, but that is a mindset, that you're as a scout, you're trying to find everything that'll make what this player fails and succeeds, and for whatever reason, they've figured out that that's one they want to highlight, whether or not this guy
which is really I'd be more impressed from the kid that has the one parent or no parent or a guardian, or comes from this is the part that I loved about the Des Bryant story, right? We were all focused on what Jeff Ireland was asking, and nobody was focused on the fact that dude came from that setting. How freaking awesome is that? Dwayne Wade, he would stay up till 2 a.m. waiting for his mom to come back from some crack binge. And look where he ended up. You know what I'm saying? Alonzo Mourning was adopted. Look where he ended up. I mean, these are things that you gotta understand about some of these guys that, to me, the guy that actually has the foundation hasn't been tested. The guy that doesn't have the foundation, That's all he is tested
Right.
constantly. So I
Right.
actually look at it the other way. I'd be more impressed from the kid that's gone through hell and has come out of it and say, whoa, that's the guy I want.
Right.
That's the guy I want. I don't know how this guy is going to handle when adversity comes and things. I hate it because I know it always sounds like I'm picking on the kid, but that's kind of what I've always talked about with Ryan. Ryan has always kind of been nurtured and all that kind of stuff. But when chaos happens, that's when you test your quarterback the most, is when it's chaotic. Because when everything's on script, it's fine. When life is on script, everything's fine. But life has a way of kicking you in the ass. And when you watch some of those kids that life has been kicking them in the ass constantly and they're coming out of it, that's super impressive, dude. Super
Right.
impressive.
Right.
That's
No, I'm
how
with
I
you.
would look at it on the scouting report, actually.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah.
would say. You know?
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. It's an interesting deal, man. Like I said, the whole scouting angle. I'm glad it did come out publicly. I mean, I never root for anybody to lose their job, but I think it kind of highlights to people maybe the behind the scenes. A lot of times people don't know how the sausage is made. You know what the vibes are inside of it. Not saying everyone. There are some people who don't use that language, or some scouts who don't do that. But like I said, this guy is not alone, and so I think it kind of gives people an open eyes on maybe how conversations are had behind scenes about people who are not necessarily in the same situation as they are.
All right, what are you working on at ESPN? I'm sorry, NFL Network this weekend. You were talking about ESPN. NFL Network this weekend. So
Man,
folks can check you out, my man.
So I'm actually all clear, man. I did the TV yesterday, but it's interesting. People always ask me what the offseason looks like. This truly is the start of the offseason, the week after the draft. And so I'm actually going to go down to Texas to see my family on Monday. So I'm going to do F1 stuff this weekend, take the wife out, do some stuff Mother's Day, and do that. And then Monday I'm going to go down to see our family, our mothers, and spend a week down there. My little sister's graduating, getting her master's degree on Friday. So I'm Texas A&M Commerce, so going to go check her out and do that. She's smarter than me. I barely got my bachelor's, so she got her master's. And my little brother is also having his birthday on Tuesday, so get to celebrate a couple of my siblings, spend time with my family, do that, and then we'll get back here. I'll be out here doing some stuff on OTAs in a couple weeks when they do that. And and then like I said, once we get into the deeper of June, I'm going to be doing a lot of off-season stuff, a lot of relaxing, a lot of working out.
All right, awesome stuff. As always, we will catch up next week, my friend. I appreciate you. Follow him on Twitter at Cameron Wolfe and catch his work there at the NFL Network. Cam, as always, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you.
This is the